Story 1. Here is a hiking story that takes a chilling turn. A group of friends consisting of Sarah, Tom, Lisa, and Matt decided to go hiking in the remote mountains for a weekend of adventure in nature. They were all excited to get away from the city and enjoy the fresh mountain air. They started their hike under a clear, sunny sky, trekking along winding trails lined with towering spruce trees. The mood was cheerful and relaxed as they exchanged stories and laughter along the way. However, as they ventured deeper into the forest, a thick fog began to envelop the trees, obscuring their view and sense of direction. They continued to press forward, hoping the fog would soon dissipate. But as they progressed, the fog seemed to thicken, enveloping them in an opaque veil that made it difficult to see more than a few meters ahead. A tension began to grip the group as they realized they were lost. They tried to follow the trail markers on the trees, but these seemed to vanish before their eyes, leading them in random directions and further away from their initial path. Panic began to set in as they realized they were truly lost in the middle of nowhere. As they wandered through the fog, they suddenly heard strange noises coming from the surrounding woods. Indistinct murmurs seemed to float in the air, accompanied by the crackling of branches and muffled footsteps. The tension escalated even further when Matt suddenly disappeared from the group without a trace. They shouted his name, but there was no response, only the oppressive silence of the forest. Desperate, they continued searching for Matt, but each step seemed to take them farther away from him. The fog seemed to close in around them, isolating them in a world of darkness and despair. Suddenly, Lisa stumbled upon something soft and viscous on the ground. Upon shining the flashlight down, she discovered with horror a pile of bloodied clothing with signs of struggle around it. It was Matt's clothes. Terror gripped them as they realized that something sinister was lurking in the woods with them. They began to run, ignoring the direction they were headed, wishing only to escape this living nightmare. But as night fell and the fog thickened even more, they realized they were trapped in a maze of darkness with no way out. Menacing shadows seemed to pursue them, their whispers growing louder with each step. Suddenly, they found themselves facing a clearing in the middle of the forest, illuminated by a dim yet sinister light. At the center of the clearing stood a dark silhouette with eyes glowing with malevolent light. It was Matt, but not as they knew him. His face was contorted in an expression of madness and desperation, and his gaze was empty and lifeless. He seemed to be possessed by a dark and unholy force beyond all comprehension. Terrified, they recoiled, but it was too late. Matt's silhouette lunged at them, his clawed hands outstretched like ravenous claws. They screamed in terror as they were dragged into the darkness, taken by an evil force that knew neither mercy nor forgiveness. And so, in the depths of the dark forest, their nightmare came to an end. But their story became a dark and sinister legend, warning all who dared to venture into the woods to stay away from the darkness that dwelled there. Story 2. The bustling streets of Mexico echoed with the growing reputation of Teresa Mendoza, the Queen of the South. But as her empire expanded, a new threat emerged, more insidious than ever. Teresa began receiving letters not written in blood, but in letters of deep black ink, imbued with a malevolent energy. The messages described in detail events from her past, sins she believed she had left behind. A mysterious shadow seemed to know every buried secret. Intrigued and wary, Teresa discovered that the letters came from an old friend, Maria, whom she believed dead for years. Maria, once a trusted member of her cartel, had been betrayed and left for dead. But something dark had allowed Maria to return from the dead, thirsting for revenge. The manifestations of her wrath were terrifying. Objects moved on their own, shadows came to life, and the temperature dropped sharply when she was near. Maria, now possessed by a demonic force, swore to destroy everything Teresa had built. Cartel members began to disappear one by one, victims of an indomitable supernatural force. Teresa, though skeptical at first, understood that this threat surpassed the bounds of the world she knew. Terrified but determined, she turned to experts in occultism and exorcism. Together, they delved into the mysteries of Maria's past, uncovering a hidden ritual that had been used to bring her back to life. Maria's vengeance was guided by a demonic entity hungry for souls. The final confrontation took place in an ancient abandoned temple, where Maria, possessed and unrecognizable, awaited. The forces of good and evil clashed in a battle that shook the temple's foundations. Infernal flames danced around them, while demonic screams echoed in the air. Armed with determination and the will to protect her empire, Teresa managed to break the demonic grip on Maria. However, victory did not come without sacrifice. Teresa had lost valuable friends during this supernatural battle. As calm returned, Teresa found herself alone, contemplating the ruins of the temple. The shadows of the past and inner demons had become a tangible reality, and she knew that even as the Queen of the South, there were forces she could not escape. The story of Teresa Mendoza, the Queen of the South, was now woven with mystical threads, reminding that even in the ruthless world of crime, darkness could take unexpected forms. Teresa, however, was ready to face anything that stood in her way, whether human enemies or supernatural forces. Story 3. In the dark corners of the border between Mexico and the United States, Teresa Mendoza's empire continued to thrive. However, a new threat emerged when a mysterious rival cartel emerged from the shadows, operating with ruthless cruelty. Rumors circulated about the supernatural origin of this cartel, fueling nightmares among Teresa's territory members. The drug traffickers competed not only for control of the routes, but also for control of ancient hidden forces. On a full moon night, Teresa witnessed a terrifying manifestation. Members of her cartel were found dead, mutilated in mystical rituals, with symbols of the rival cartel carved into their skin. Teresa knew this went beyond the simple game of criminal power. Macabre warnings began to arrive, messages written in an ancient language that even expert linguists struggled to decipher. The warnings predicted Teresa's empire's imminent downfall at the hands of demonic forces. Determined to protect her kingdom, Teresa turned to a local exorcist and experienced shamans. Together, they delved into the mysteries of witchcraft and demonic pacts that seemed to surround the rival cartel. During their quest, Teresa discovered an ancient artifact hidden in the mountains, a malevolent talisman with the power to channel supernatural forces. She realized that the rival cartel had made a pact with demonic entities to gain an advantage over her. The ensuing battle was epic. The skies darkened, the winds howled, and the two cartels engaged in a mystical war. Shadow creatures emerged from the darkness, summoned by the rival cartel's evil rituals. Teresa, armed with the neutralized talisman, managed to turn the demonic forces against their creators. The boundary between the real world and the supernatural tore apart, and a whirlwind of devastating energy engulfed the rival cartel. The victory, though costly, ensured the survival of Teresa's empire. However, she knew that in this world where the boundary between good and evil was blurred, new supernatural threats could arise at any moment. Teresa Mendoza, the Queen of the South, remained an enigmatic figure in a world where reality and the occult intertwined. Her reign would continue, but she would always remain aware of the shadows that could emerge from the past, the present, or even the beyond.